Roger, are you back on the sauce again, or is there some other mathematical equation involved here? Because you seem off today. Even for you.
I need you to just shut up for a second and actually realize what's happening right now.
You will not talk to me like that, young lady. No, sir, no, ma'am, and no anything in between. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. All right, you guys. So for anybody that's not familiar, this is Birdie Blossom, aka Oslon T-Bird, aka Aurora Bird, aka Roger is what we call him around here. And Roger, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, I say he and him, but I think their pronouns are they and them. We'll be all over the place with the pronouns on this one because Roger was technically born female from what they say.
I am an assigned female at birth, femme, non-binary person.
And then started taking testosterone and now is a mooch. Which I know I probably shouldn't say that and I probably should be nicer. And I also know I told you guys not too long ago that I would put this video out. I think it was 3 weeks ago now. But I've got to do Roger in doses. And I also said that this would be the last video. It turns out this is the second to the last video because when I was going through it, I was like, if I make both of these, because there's 2 clips I have from Roger that I want to go through. And I was like, if I make both of these in one video, mentally, emotionally, I don't have the bandwidth for it. And I don't think you guys do either. Some of you think you want more Roger, like you'll hit me up in the comments and be like, what's Roger up to? I saw Roger on Twitter, or have you seen the latest Roger? Let me tell you, those are all old Roger videos you're seeing. Even this video, I'm gonna set it up for you right now, is right after Hurricane Helene. And I will share a little bit of the footage that I ended up getting from one of the accounts that he mentions later, beloved Asheville, which I don't know why Roger couldn't include this kind of thing to really highlight for people that aren't in the area exactly how bad it was on the ground. I think that actually would have helped. But in regular Roger fashion, he refuses to do anything other than complain about what he's going through, which is all mental, while the people around him are going through things that are very real. But I'm going to tell you guys what I honestly think, and I know I probably should save this till the end, but I'm going to tell you right now. What I really think is going on with Roger is I think Roger was fortunate enough to be right outside of the real wreckage in the hurricane, because the way that he talks is very much the way a person would talk if they're not really going through it with everybody else. Like, I do think Roger was affected. I do think the house that he lives in was affected to a degree, but I really don't think Roger is part of the wreckage because never does he show any actual damage to the place that he's living in, which if you know anything about Roger, Roger would definitely milk this for some money from you guys if he thought he was able to. But I think that if he were to do like a house tour, we would notice that there was probably little to no damage. But we're going to go through this video because once again, Roger is talking about his favorite subject. Say it with me.
Mutual aid. Mutual aid. Mutual aid. Mutual aid again. Mutual aid. Any kind of mutual aid. I just need mutual aid. Mutual aid it up.
Mutual aid. Otherwise known as mutual aid. Because Roger never seems to hit the mutual in mutual aid. So then one of the commenters on his video asked this very simple question, which led to Roger losing it. Which I've said before, I think Roger is back to his old ways, whatever his old ways were. I don't know if it's drinking. I don't know if it's something else.
Maybe somebody should put jumping beans in the tequila.
But either way, if you watch this video, you will notice that Roger does actually seem to be a little off even by Roger's standards. So here's the comment that the person left on his video and why he ended up losing it. So mutual aid is basically rewarding people that aren't willing to improve their situation. Granted, not everyone would take advantage, but there is literally no incentive to improve your own situation because you're depending on the community to take care of you. So let's get into this video, and as the kids would say, let him cook.
I need you to just shut up for a second and actually realize what's happening right now. A hurricane came through the mountains.
Don't try it, Raj. You've been going on about mutual aid since well before a hurricane came through the mountains.
A hurricane.
Girl, we heard you the first time. A hurricane. For my Spanish-speaking audience, un huracán.
People's entire homes were washed away.
And yet you look all nice and dry. Weird flex, Miss Roger. Or is it Ms. Roger?
Not just flooded, literally gone. People's entire lives gone. People died. People have been left stranded in houses full of feces because there is no potable water.
Roger, you are in North Carolina right now. So I'd be willing to bet that absolutely none of the people that you're talking about right now are worried about mutual aid. I'd be willing to bet that mutual aid isn't even in their regular vocabulary. So while this is all very tragic and there is undeniably a lot of devastation and wreckage around you, you seem to be doing fine. So I'm trying to figure out, and I think the rest of the audience is trying to figure out too, what exactly you're doing to help other than making TikToks.
Disabled people have been left to die. Like literally, the only people that have actually been able to reach our community members all the way through this situation is mutual aid organizations and local community efforts.
Well, give some shout outs, Roger. Why don't you tell people where they can donate? Why don't you tell people how they can chip in? Why don't you name some names of these mutual aid organizations, or at the very least, who they can credit for helping out in your town's time of need? And my guess is the reason that you don't give shout outs, the reason that you don't credit other people is because you know that you've made people online like you so little that a shout out from you would be more of a curse than a blessing.
Like, y'all are so angry at actually learning that communities take care of each other. Like, are you kidding me? Also, you're literally sitting here blaming people for going through a natural disaster.
Blaming people? Let me read that comment one mo again. So mutual aid is basically rewarding people that aren't willing to improve their situation. Granted, not everyone would take advantage, but there is literally no incentive to improve your own situation because you're depending on the community to take care of you. Roger, I'm not really seeing any blame in that comment right there. It feels like you're just truly being exposed and you're using outrage as a tool of deflection. And while I'm not mad at you, because from doing your videos for so long, I'm sure this has been a very effective strategy for you. So I'm not going to hate on you for going with what works. But I'm not going to pretend to feel bad for you either, Roger. This is just what happens when it feels like the whole internet is calling you out at once, and instead of you taking some accountability and looking at your own behavior, instead you decide to lash out and start yelling at people.
That have killed so many people and has literally destroyed entire towns, including mine.
Well, why don't you show us some of the destruction in your town or the damage around you, Roger? And this is why I got so tired of Roger. This is why I tell you guys that I'm pretty much done with Roger and I can only deal with him in doses. I admit when I first started doing the Roger series, it was a lot of fun, but he's just turned into such a frustrating person because the truth is, whether anybody likes it or not, at this particular point when this situation happened, Roger had a lot of the internet's eyes on him because of the spectacle he had been making of himself. So while you have everybody's eyes on you, why wouldn't you take some time to actually show the reality of the devastation that Hurricane Helene caused your area? Show what it actually looks like so people can really see it. Because while people could imagine, I don't think a lot of people had the full idea because we weren't all going through the same things. We weren't waking up and seeing what people in your area were seeing every day. But the reason that he can't do that is because he's so offended at people calling out his grift that he can't think about anything other than himself. So instead, he decides to go the route of defending his politics and his ideology of mutual aid so that people won't notice or call him out for just being a mooch since, like I said, well before Hurricane Helene happened. There was a lot leading up to this that has led people to just want to know, what exactly are you going to do for yourself, Roger? Or what exactly have you done for yourself or for your community for that matter?
Like, are you kidding me? Mutual aid is saving people's lives, and you're so consumed with capitalism. You're so consumed with dehumanizing people that you can't even conceptualize a world where people actually want to help each other that are in need.
Again, Roger, why don't you show us some of what people are doing? Why don't you show us how you're helping any of these mutual aid organizations out? I mean, if you're such a saint, shouldn't you be volunteering? Shouldn't you have connections with those people or groups and be able to maybe bring a few of them on and have them talk about what it is that's going on and what's needed and how they're helping out the community and how people from the community are helping each other out? I mean, how much do you think that you're really helping by jumping around like a little leprechaun and shouting at strangers on the internet?
Like, people's entire lives were destroyed and you still want to blame them? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I don't think anybody is blaming anybody in that comment. I think you're just popping off because this comment is really a veiled personal question for you. And the question is, what is your incentive to get off your ass and actually do something for yourself when the internet keeps giving you money or these mutual aid organizations keep doing for you? And the last thing you need is the internet calling you out about this and possibly having people that have been giving you money get a serious case of the hey yeahs and be like, hey yeah, why aren't you doing anything for yourself? Hey yeah, why do we keep sending you money? Maybe we should all stop sending you money so that you will actually learn to be self-sufficient and do for yourself instead of constantly relying on others and calling it mutual aid.
Congratulations on not ever having to be in such a dire situation where you have to rely on mutual aid in order to survive. Congratulations.
Well, that's the problem, Roger. That's the problem right there, is that you've been going through a dire situation for at least the last year and a half, if not 2 years solid, begging on the internet. That's what you've been doing, internet panhandling for the last 2 years. So now that people are really hammering down on you about your claims of mutual aid, but never showing the mutual as in your part of the mutual aid, instead of accepting some accountability and being like, maybe I really have milked this, you try to turn it into a thing of this is what we're going through right now. Because at that time, Asheville was undeniably going through a lot. A lot of us didn't get to see exactly to the extent, even though we had a bit of an idea from the news, but we didn't see it to the extent that you're actually getting to see it. But my point is, rather than accepting that these are people asking you questions about what you're trying to push, instead you try to turn it into a collective, we're going through a lot right now. You're being insensitive to us so that people seem like they are being insensitive. And if you ask me, you're kind of trying to gaslight people right now into believing that they're doing something that they're not doing, that they're being insensitive to an entire region that was devastated by a hurricane instead of just calling you out for your shitbird behavior.
Our communities need help, and the people that are doing it are the ones that are on the ground in our neighborhoods, in our mutual aid organizations, at Firestorm Co-op. Like, literally, it's our communities that are coming together.
Okay, we're off to a good start. Firestorm Co-op. Why don't you tell people how they can help Firestorm Co-op out? Why don't you tell people how they can check out what exactly Firestorm Co-op is doing? Why don't you tell people what Firestorm Co-op needs, where they can be found, how people can donate to Firestorm Co-op? And maybe the reason that you wouldn't do that at that time when people were in such a dire situation is because you know that if some of these people that have been nice enough to donate to you decide to actually check out Firestorm Co-op, they might donate money to them. They might actually send them some help. And if they're sending them some help, what are they going to have left over for you? If they actually see what people helping other people out looks like, they might realize that what they've been doing for you is nothing like that. What they've been doing for you is enabling you, while what they would be doing for an organization like Firestorm Co-op would be helping Firestorm Co-op help out an entire community. And I really do believe that that's one of the reasons that you didn't give out more information that could have been very helpful to not only Firestorm Co-op, but possibly your entire community. And I did decide to check out Firestorm Co-op. I had to go back quite a bit in their Instagram, and it really did seem like Firestorm Co-op was acting as a community hub and letting people know very valuable information like where they could use Wi-Fi, where they could get showers, where they could possibly get access to electronics and medical equipment, where people were distributing food. Firestorm Co-op itself was actually distributing food and supplies. There were trucks coming in that were delivering supplies. They were actually working on the mutual aid system, which while some people may find that particular ideology or that particular system to be a bit questionable, it really did in that moment seem to be very helpful to the Asheville community. But what I saw the Instagram from Firestorm Co-op itself talking about more than anything else was the amount of manpower it was taking to run that kind of operation, as far as sorting supplies, distributing them, putting bags together, trying to get them out to people when people weren't able to make it to them. So in my opinion, that's a way that you could have helped out, was to let people know who the contact person would be if they wanted to reach out directly. But again, instead of doing that, you're busy arguing with people on TikTok and trying to make yourself seem like a hero for doing what exactly? Just arguing on TikTok? Because we can all do that. So I'm not sure exactly how it is you think you're helping. And a quick FYI, Roger, while I personally did check out Firestorm Co-op, most people that are watching your videos are not going to check out most of what you're talking about. Again, it would have been easier for you just to go down there, show them what was going on and what they were doing, instead of yelling at them. Maybe you could have just left this comment on the TikTok like you did and shown video of you actually at Firestorm Co-op and being like, this is what mutual aid looks like. Does it look like anybody here is the type of person that isn't trying to help out their own situation? And shown some of the people with their consent that were actually going through this and made it super relatable for everybody at home to be like, yeah, these are just normal everyday people. They're not like the Rogers of the world that are just trying to mooch off of everybody. This is the way this particular system works out in practice when it's at its ideal.
Like, you need to seriously sit down and actually recognize what's happened and what we're dealing with here.
I think at that time, a lot of people were recognizing what you all were dealing with there. But I will tell you one place that I really didn't think it was helpful that Firestorm Co-op was trying to squeeze in their opinions was they put up one particular post in which they addressed colonization and basically white privilege. And I'm going to tell you and Firestorm Co-op and any other organization, nobody's trying to hear about colonization and white privilege when they're going through a natural disaster. If there's anything you can do to not help out a situation, is try to tell people how privileged they are when they're going through everything that Roger is talking about. Not having water, not having electricity, not having medical supplies, having their places get completely flooded and in some cases washed away. That's not a time when anybody cares or wants to hear about colonization or white privilege. If you ask me, the person that's truly privileged in this entire situation is a person like Roger that's sitting in a nice, clean, warm house, making TikToks and plotting for how he's next going to fleece his audience to pay for his lifestyle.
People are without electricity, without water, without internet, without food, without access to anything, without medical equipment.
But look at Roger's place behind them. It looks all clean and chill. And I think that was another part of the problem when it came to Roger's entire strategy, is that he never showed the wreckage that he was actually dealing with. He never showed how bad his situation was. And if he really wanted to run this little grift, what he should have done was gone to another person's house that had it a lot worse than they did and been like, this is what we're going through, y'all. You know how Roger loves to say y'all when he's trying to sound folksy. This is what we're going through, y'all. This is why we need help. And then he could have said thanks and left back to his other place, and maybe the soft hearts would have been like, Roger is really going through it right now. We should send him some mutual aid. And then he could have got even more money, like he did when he raised the $5,000 in less than a day for his new place that I don't know if he ever moved into. I guess maybe at some point we'll find out. But for right now, that information hasn't been disclosed. But my point is, I think that if he were to show the place that he's actually staying in, instead, Roger would just have to show video and be like, we're so blessed, you guys, because the brunt of it really didn't hit us. So that's why he hides behind anger and indignance.
Without care? Like, are you kidding me? And you know what? If you want to see what that looks like in real time, again, check out Beloved Asheville.
Okay, Roger, I did check out Beloved Asheville, and Beloved Asheville was where I got the video of what the actual devastation looked like. And I will tell you that Beloved Asheville seemed to be doing a lot more of the heavy lifting than even Firestorm Co-op, which is nothing against Firestorm Co-op. I'm not trying to throw them under the bus in any way, because the way that they were able to help out with what they helped out, I'm sure was very important for a lot of people and genuinely did help a lot of people out. But it did seem like Beloved Asheville was doing a lot more of the work when it came to putting money together and buying supplies for people and showing not only what the devastation looked like then, but even now Beloved Asheville is helping people out and showing what they're still going through 7 months later and the way that it looks right now, which I think would shock a lot of people if they were to actually see that this is happening right now. This is what they're still dealing with in certain parts of Asheville at the present time, which again, I think a lot of people forget about that. Once it's been over for a while and it's no longer in the news, people start to get like, everything seems to be all right. We're not seeing a lot about this on social media anymore. And that's where I think Roger could really help out, even at this point, with the size of following that Roger has on social media. I think it's 80,000 people he has following him on social media, where again, like I said, he could have interviewed somebody from Beloved Asheville and found out what it was they actually needed. Or even better, he could have shown a volunteer day where he actually showed up himself. And I think it would have done a lot to help his public image and possibly had the effect that he really wanted to have, which is getting people to donate more money to him personally by showing himself, rolling up his sleeves, and actually doing some work. And I think that would have done a lot more to help Roger rehab his image than arguing with strangers on the internet from his cozy kitchen. But I think what this video does make clear over anything else is that even when there doesn't have to be any money involved, he still won't do it.
Check out what Firestorm Co-op is doing and what's happening there and how the community has just come together there. Check out the Pansy Collective. Like, you need to see this happening in real time and actually hear the real stories of what people are going through.
Or you could have just shown us this was your missed opportunity to get off your lazy ass and use your following for something good. But instead, you chose to use it as another excuse to justify your laziness.
Because that, like, you seriously need to realize that what you're saying is absolutely disgusting.
I don't think it is disgusting, Roger, because I don't think that people are trying to act like the whole of people that were affected by Hurricane Helene, or even the people of Asheville specifically, are lazy or weren't willing to do for themselves. I don't think that that's the way that I would have read that comment at all. I think what they were really saying in that comment and in the other comments that people left you regarding mutual aid is that mutual aid will never work because there will always be people like yourself that will do absolutely nothing to help others. Because what your part could have been would have been something as simple as even turning yourself into a community megaphone, not only to your own community, but to the outside community. You could have done something as simple as going down to maybe one of the doors at the Firestorm Collective where they had all of the resources listed, and maybe for some of the people that were unable to get out of their houses, maybe have actual medical conditions like you claim to have, where they really can't leave and where they really can't do for themselves, and you could have done something as simple as just read off the different resources for them. Like, this is who you can contact for food, this is who you can contact for internet, this is who you can contact for medical services, this is who can pull some of the debris off of your property. These are all things that you personally could have done to help people out by using that same TikTok that you're instead using to just shout at the world because you're angry about what exactly, Roger? That's what upsets me about you, is I don't understand what a person that completely hasn't had to work for about 2 years because of the kindness of strangers on TikTok has to be angry about. I mean, maybe people questioning you and you having to think and answer these questions is the closest you're going to get to actually working.
You have sold your fucking soul. And it's pathetic. Like, shut up. Just shut up. People need water. Shut up.
Well, that was the end of that particular clip from Roger, and like I told you guys, it's just emotionally taxing having to listen to this person constantly act like they're the victim, even when there are actual victims all around them. And yes, victims of circumstance and nature, but that's the way this world works sometimes, is sometimes people really do get screwed just by their geography and the elements around them. And that's a very real thing that we all have to deal with at different points. And I think that those are times when we should be open to helping people out and seeing what we can do for people, even if it does cost us a little bit of money or a little bit of our time. But I don't think that people that claim to care about other people as much as Roger does and claim that we should all take care of each other as much as Roger does should be so concerned about themselves even during that time. And I think that that's what this video really exposed, was that Roger will always be about Roger, even in a true time of crisis and devastation. It still will all be focused on what the world thinks of Roger and why they should continue to do for him and why he should never be called out. And that's where I'm at on it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you want to see a video about a corrupt judge and his wife that got arrested for harboring illegals and the worst kind of illegals, click the video on your screen. Other than that, as always, thank you for watching. This has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.